Welcome back. Today, we are going to talk about a phenomenon that I think is going to resonate with absolutely everyone listening. I want you to picture this scenario.
Okay.
You have a problem in your life. Maybe it is a messy kitchen that just, drives you crazy. Maybe it is a credit card debt that keeps creeping up.
Uh,
Or maybe it is a recurring conflict with a coworker where you just butt heads over the same issue every single week.
the classics.
Right, the classics. And you, being a responsible, proactive person, you decide to fix it. You spend all Saturday cleaning the kitchen until it sparkles.
Feels good.
Oh, you pay off the credit card. You sit down with that coworker and you have the clear the air talk. You solve it and you feel great. You feel like, okay, that is done. I have conquered that mountain.
But I think I know where this is going.
You absolutely know where this is going. 3 weeks later, the kitchen is a disaster zone.
Yep.
The credit card balance is back up to where it was. And you are having the exact same argument with the coworker, maybe even using the exact same words. It is the whack-a-mole effect. You hit the problem down, and it pops right back up.
It is incredibly frustrating. It makes you feel like you are just running on a hamster wheel.
Exactly. And the question we were asking today is, why? Why do these problems come back? Are we just unlucky? Are we broken? Or are we trying to fix the wrong thing?
I think it's that last one.
To answer that, we're looking at a really foundational piece of writing. We're digging into a text from 1909 by Thomas Troward called The Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science. Specifically, we are looking at the chapter on causes and conditions.
This is such a pivotal text. And I think before we even get into the concepts, we need to talk about Troward himself. Because when people hear mental science or a title like that from the early 20th century, they might expect something very mystical, maybe a bit woo-woo.
Sure, I can see that.
But Thomas Troward was not a guru. He was a judge.
He was a divisional judge in British India, right?
That is correct. He was a man of the law, a logician. He spent his days looking at evidence, determining cause and effect in a courtroom setting.
So he was very grounded in, facts and consequences.
Extremely. And when he retired and started writing about the mind, he brought that same rigorous legalistic framework to it. He treats the universe not as a magical place, but as a place governed by laws. If you do A, B will happen. It is mechanical.
I think that is a really helpful framing. We aren't talking about magic spells here. We're talking about the mechanics of reality. It is almost like engineering for your life.
Precisely. Troward argues that the reason we are stuck in that whack-a-mole loop cleaning the kitchen only to watch it get dirty is because we do not understand the fundamental distinction between a cause and a condition.
We're fighting the wrong battle.
We are spending all our energy fighting the conditions while completely ignoring the causes.
And if this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one. Because we are going to break this down in a way that connects this, Victorian legal logic with modern neuroscience so you can actually stop the cycle. So let's start with the definitions. Troward uses these two words, causes and conditions. In normal English, we kind of use those interchangeably. The condition of the road caused the accident, but Troward is using them very specifically.
He is. This is the bedrock of his entire philosophy. To Troward, a condition is an effect. It is the secondary thing. It is the result.
It's what's already happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is the visible, tangible circumstance you are living in right now.
Give me some concrete examples.
Okay. Your bank balance. That number on the screen. That is a condition. The pile of dirty dishes in the sink. That is a condition.
The thing I can see and touch.
The diagnosis from the doctor. That is a condition. Even an argument with your spouse is a condition. It is something that has already manifested. It is the end of the assembly line.
Okay, so the condition is the thing I can see, touch, and stress out about. It is the reality that is staring me in the face.
Yes. And because it is tangible, because it is right there, we make a fatal error. We think it is the real thing. We think it is the source of our problem.
But you're saying it's not.
But Troward argues that the condition is just a shadow. It has no power of its own to change or to move. It is just a reflection of something else.
This sounds incredibly Platonic. Is he riffing on Plato here?
He is absolutely channeling Plato. You cannot really understand Troward without looking at Plato's allegory of the cave. Troward is essentially updating that ancient Greek idea for the 20th century.
I feel like most people have heard of the cave, but let's refresh the memory. Because the details really matter here, don't they?
They really do. So imagine a group of prisoners who have lived in a cave since childhood. They're chained up in such a way that they cannot move their heads. They can only stare at the blank wall in front of them.
Which sounds like a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. Now, behind these prisoners, unknown to them, there is a fire burning. And between the fire and the prisoners, there is a walkway.
Right.
Puppeteers walk along this walkway holding up objects, figures of animals, statues of men, tools, and the light from the fire casts the shadows of these objects onto the wall in front of the prisoners.
So the prisoners they're just watching these shadows dance on the wall.
Exactly. They see a shadow of a bird fly across, they hear an echo, and because they have never seen anything else, they believe that the shadow is the bird.
They think the shadow is reality.
That's it. They give the shadows names. They study the patterns of the shadows. They might even fight about the shadows. Oh, that shadow is dangerous, or that shadow is beautiful.
But they are completely missing the actual object that is casting the shadow.
Right. If you were to unchain one of them and turn them around, they would be blinded by the fire. They would see the wooden bird held by the puppeteer and realize, oh,
That wasn't real.
the thing on the wall was just an effect.
Yeah.
This is the cause.
Okay, so bringing this back to Troward. In this analogy, the conditions, my empty bank account, my messy house, those are the shadows on the wall.
Yes.
And I am the prisoner. I am staring at the bank statement, stressing out, trying to fix the statement itself.
You are trying to scrub the shadow off the wall, and Troward is the guy tapping you on the shoulder saying, turn around.
Look at the source.
He wants you to look at what is casting the shadow. And for Troward, the cause, the object before the fire, is always mental. It is the habitual assumption, the mental attitude or the thought image that precedes the thing.
Okay, this is where people usually get skeptical, I think. Because it sounds like thoughts become things in a way that ignores the physical world.
I know.
If I have a messy house, it is because I didn't clean it. It is physical. Are we saying the mess is imaginary?
No, and Troward would be the first to say the mess is real. He was a judge. He dealt with facts. The shadow on the wall is a real shadow. It exists. But it is not self-originating.
It didn't just appear out of nowhere.
Right. The mess didn't just appear. It was created by a pattern of behavior. And that pattern of behavior, the decision to put the mail on the counter instead of the bin, the decision to leave the cup on the table, that behavior is driven by a mental state.
So the cause is the internal software that runs the behavior that creates the mess.
Exactly. And Troward says that as long as you are fighting the shadow, just cleaning the kitchen without changing the software, the shadow must return, because the object casting it hasn't moved.
This leads us to a concept Troward introduces called secondary causation. And I want to spend some time here, because when I read this in the notes, it felt like a trap I fall into constantly.
Oh, we all do.
What is secondary causation?
Secondary causation is the trap of looking at the wall of the cave and using the shadows to predict the future. It is when we look at our past conditions or current limitations and we think they are the cause of our future.
Can you give me a concrete example?
Sure. Let's look at starting a business. A person says, I want to start a business. That is the desire. But then they look at their bank account, the condition, and they see it is empty.
Right.
So they say, I cannot start a business because I have no money.
Which sounds like a very logical, responsible thing to say.
It sounds logical, but Troward would say it is a fatal error. You have just assigned cause status to a condition. You are saying the lack of money, the shadow, is the reason you cannot create money, the new shadow. You have created a closed loop.
I see. If I believe the current condition causes the future, then the future can only ever look like the present.
Precisely. You are stuck in a vicious circle. You are taking the shadow from yesterday and using it as the blueprint for tomorrow. Troward says, if you base your future plans only on your current limitations, you can only reproduce those same limitations.
That is actually terrifying if you think about it. It explains why people stay stuck in the same tax bracket or the same type of dysfunctional relationship for decades.
Yeah.
They're using the current reality to justify why the reality can't change.
In modern psychology, we have a term for this. We call it learned helplessness. It is what happens when an animal or a person feels that the environment controls them, rather than them controlling the environment.
So it's a form of giving up.
It's surrendering your agency. When we blame the conditions for our state, I am like this because of the economy, I am like this because of my boss, we become victims of the shadows.
But hold on, I have to push back a little bit here because sometimes the economy is bad, sometimes the boss is a nightmare. Are we saying those things don't matter?
No, that's a crucial distinction.
It feels like gaslighting yourself. Oh, the fact that I just got fired isn't a problem.
We're not saying the conditions don't matter or that they aren't painful. If you get fired, that is a real problem. That is a shadow that just got very dark. But Troward is asking, what is the cause of your next move?
Meaning, do I react to the firing by saying, I am unhireable?
Right. If you let the fired condition dictate your internal state, you will become depressed, you won't polish your resume, you will walk into interviews looking defeated.
And you'll stay unemployed.
And you likely remain unemployed. The condition has become the cause. But if you see the firing as just a condition, a temporary state, and you maintain an internal cause of, I am a valuable asset, your actions will be different and the future shadow will be different.
So it isn't about ignoring reality. It is about not letting the current reality dictate the future reality.
Exactly. It is about understanding that you are the projector, not the wall.
Okay, so we need to stop looking at the wall and turn around. We need to focus on the cause. But why is this so hard? I feel like I know this intellectually. I know I should eat healthy. I know I should save money. But when I walk into the kitchen and see the cookie jar, I eat the cookie. When I see the sale, I buy the shoes. Why does the condition, the cookie jar, seem to have so much power over me?
This is where we have to pivot from 1909 metaphysics to 21st century neuroscience. Because Troward didn't have fMRI machines. He figured this out through logic.
Pure reason.
But modern science backs him up completely. And it gives us the biological mechanism for why the condition feels so powerful.
You were talking about habits.
I am. Specifically, I want to bring in the work of Dr. Wendy Wood. She is a psychologist at the University of Southern California and really the godmother of modern habit research. She wrote a brilliant book called Good Habits, Bad Habits.
And she has some pretty staggering statistics about how much of our life is actually habitual.
She does. Her research suggests that roughly 43% of our daily actions are performed without conscious thought. They are habitual.
43%.
That means for almost half your day, you aren't really there making decisions. You are on autopilot.
So almost half the time, the shadows are running the show.
Exactly. Wood's research focuses on something she calls context-dependent repetition. That is a fancy academic term, but it explains the cookie problem perfectly.
Okay, break it down for us.
So in the brain, we have different systems. We have the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive. That is the part of you that decides, I'm going on a diet. It is smart, it is logical, but it gets tired easily.
Willpower fatigue.
Exactly. Then deeper in the brain, we have the basal ganglia. This is the ancient part of the brain that manages patterns and habits.
The autopilot.
The autopilot. Now, the basal ganglia loves conditions. It loves cues. Wendy Wood found that our environment acts as a trigger for these stored patterns.
So the room itself is a trigger.
Yes. So you walk into the kitchen. That is the condition. It is a physical space. Your eyes see the counter. You smell the coffee. Those sensory inputs go straight to the basal ganglia, and it retrieves a stored script. Kitchen plus afternoon equals cookie.
So before I even have a conscious thought about being hungry, my hand is already in the jar.
Exactly. You think you are making a choice. You think, oh, a cookie sounds nice. But you aren't choosing. You are reacting to a condition. The environment pressed a button on your dashboard, and you executed the program.
So when Troward says we are servants to the condition, he is literally describing the neural loop of a bad habit.
He is. He would say, you are letting the external world drive your internal mechanism. You have surrendered your power to the room you are standing in.
And this connects to that famous Aristotle quote, right? We can't do a full analysis on this without bringing in the Greeks.
You have to. Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle understood this thousands of years ago. He argued that virtue isn't a one-time decision. You don't become brave by doing one brave thing. You become brave by doing brave things over and over again until it becomes your nature.
Until it becomes the autopilot.
Yes, until the internal cause is so strong that the action happens automatically.
So if we want to change the condition, if we want to stop eating the cookie or stop being broke or stop fighting, we have to change the person who naturally generates that result. We have to change the autopilot.
Correct. And this brings us to the method. This is the practical application. How do we actually do this? Because most people try to change by using willpower. They say, I just won't eat the cookie.
And that lasts about 2 days.
If you are lucky. Troward proposes a different approach. He calls it reversing the method of thinking. But combined with Wendy Wood's science, we could look at it as a two-pronged attack.
Okay.
You need to change the inner driver, that is towards mental assumption, and the outer pattern, that is the environmental cue.
You have to attack the root and the fruit at the same time.
Exactly.
Okay, I want to make this really practical because inner driver and outer pattern can sound a bit abstract. I want to look at 3 specific areas where people struggle: work, relationships, and health.
Good.
And I want us to really dissect them. Let's start with work.
Okay, let's take the classic condition of burnout. This is something I see everywhere. You feel overwhelmed, you are constantly distracted, you feel like you are drowning in emails.
And the mistake we usually make, the fighting the shadow mistake, is to just try and work harder. We say, I just need to clear the inbox. Once the inbox is 0, I will be calm.
Right. We think the full inbox is the cause of our stress.
Yeah.
So we attack the inbox. But the inbox is just a condition. It is a shadow.
So what is the cause? And be careful here, because if you tell me the cause is my attitude, I might get annoyed. My boss sends me 100 emails a day. That is real.
It is real. But why do you answer them all immediately?
Yeah.
Why is your notification sound on? The internal cause often goes deeper than just work ethic. It is often a lack of boundaries rooted in a belief. A common one is the belief that busy equals important.
Ooh, that hits home. The idea that if I'm not suffering, I am not earning my paycheck.
Exactly. If your internal driver is, I must be available to be valuable, then you will unconsciously create chaos. You will check your phone at dinner. You will reply at midnight.
You're training people to expect that from you.
You are teaching people to treat you that way. You are casting the shadow of overwhelmed employee on the wall.
So how do we fix this using the two-pronged method?
First, the inner driver. You have to change the assumption. You have to adopt a belief like my value comes from my output, not my hours, or rest makes me more productive. You have to really believe that.
That is the Troward part. What is the Wendy Wood part? The outer pattern.
You have to change the environment to break the cue. If the phone buzzing triggers the anxiety habit, turn the phone off, put it in a drawer, close the email tab, and only open it at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m.
Remove the trigger.
You have to physically alter the condition so it stops triggering the old script.
So you interrupt the autopilot physically while reprogramming the autopilot mentally.
Yes. If you only hide the phone but still believe, I need to be available, you will just be anxious without the phone. You will go find it. You have to do both.
Okay, let's move to relationships. This is the big one, the recurring argument.
Always.
Let's say it's about chores. The classic, you left your socks on the floor fight.
Okay. The condition is the conflict, the yelling, the tension. The mistake is blaming the partner's behavior entirely. If they would just pick up their socks, I wouldn't be angry.
You're just fighting the shadow.
You're fighting the shadow.
But the socks are on the floor. That feels very real. It feels like a direct cause of my irritation.
It feels like it. But let's look at the Stoics here. Epictetus said, we are disturbed not by things, but by our view of things. The socks are just cotton tubes on a wooden floor. That is the neutral fact.
So the anger isn't in the socks.
The anger comes from the story you tell about the socks.
The story being, they left the socks there because they don't respect me. They think I am the maid.
Bingo. That is the internal cause, the narrative of disrespect. As long as that narrative is running, you will explode every time you see a sock. You're primed for conflict.
So the fix isn't just screaming about socks.
No. The fix is changing the inner driver. You have to rewrite the narrative. Maybe the new narrative is, we have different standards of tidiness. It isn't personal. It is just a habit difference.
That immediately lowers the blood pressure.
It does. And then once you are calm, inner change, you negotiate the outer pattern. You say, hey, let's put a hamper right here where you take your socks off.
You make the new habit easier.
You change the environment. You work on the routine together, not the emotion.
That is so much more productive than just having the you don't love me fight every Tuesday.
It is. It moves you from victimhood to engineering.
Okay, third example, health. We touched on the cookie, but let's go deeper. The late night snacking. This is a huge one for people.
It is. The condition is eating when you aren't hungry, usually at night on the couch.
And the mistake is just not buying the snacks, which works for a bit, but then you find yourself eating baking chocolate or stale crackers.
Right, because you fought the shadow but ignored the fire. The internal cause for late-night snacking is rarely hunger. It is usually emotional regulation.
You're self-soothing.
You are bored, or you are anxious, or you are lonely. The food is a dopamine hit to soothe that feeling.
So the food is a drug in that moment.
It is a tool. So if you take away the tool but leave the anxiety, the brain will panic.
Yeah.
You will find another tool, maybe scrolling, maybe drinking.
So the fix?
Inner driver. You have to identify the feeling, I am anxious about tomorrow. You have to address that cause directly. Maybe you journal, maybe you stretch, maybe you breathe. You have to soothe the anxiety without the food.
And the outer pattern?
Change the cues. If the couch and the TV trigger the snack urge, don't sit on the couch. Go read in bed, change the lighting, close the kitchen logic.
Make it harder to do the old thing.
Make the habit harder to execute physically while you heal the root emotionally.
I love that. It is a pincer maneuver on your own habits. You are squeezing it from both sides.
That is a great way to put it.
Okay, so for the listener who is nodding along thinking, yes, I have these loops, I have the socks, I have the burnout, I have the snacks, let's do something active. We have a guided exercise called the Root and Fruit Audit, and I actually want to do this live. I will be the guinea pig.
I love it. This is a simple diagnostic tool. Listeners, you can do this in your head right now or pause and grab a piece of paper.
Okay, walk me through it.
Okay, the first step is to identify the fruit. Identify one frustrating condition you keep fighting. Pick something tangible.
Okay, I'm going to pick a real one. My desk, it is always covered in clutter. Old notes, coffee cups, cables. I clean it every Friday, and by Tuesday, it is a disaster again. It makes me feel scattered.
Perfect. A messy desk. That is the fruit. That is the shadow. Now the next step, ask, what repeated cause might feed it? And don't just say laziness. Look for the specific habit or assumption. Why do you put things down there?
If I am honest, it is because I am afraid of losing things. I write a note and I leave it out because if I file it, I think I will forget it. It is a fear that out of sight is out of mind.
Ah, that is fascinating. So the internal cause is actually anxiety about memory. It is a belief that I must see it to remember it.
Yeah, and also I don't have a specific place for things. I just put them down.
Okay, so we have a mix. We have an internal driver, fear of forgetting, and an external pattern, no designated home for items.
Yeah.
So the third step, choose one interchange. How do we flip that assumption?
I guess I need to trust my systems more. The new assumption would be, if I file it, I can find it. A clear desk equals a clear mind.
I like that. My system is reliable. That is the new software. Now, step 4, choose one outer change, a small, consistent action that alters the environment.
I think I need an inbox tray, a physical tray, so I can put things in the tray, not just on the surface, that way it is contained but still visible.
Excellent. You are changing the physics of the space. You're creating a new cue. Instead of put down on wood, it is put into tray.
Okay. And the final step.
The final step is crucial. Remove one contradiction.
Yeah.
You cannot plant a new seed and then pour poison on it. What is something you say or think that reinforces the old identity?
I definitely say I am just a messy person, or I am a creative chaos person.
Stop saying that.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It feels like part of my identity.
It is part of the old identity. It is the old shadow. If you keep saying, I am messy, your brain will obligingly help you create messes to stay consistent with that label.
So I have to starve the old identity.
You have to starve the old shadow. Start saying, I am in practicing organization. Or just say nothing. But stop claiming the mess as yours.
That is the hardest part, I think, letting go of the story of who we are.
It is.
Yeah.
But it is essential.
It sounds simple when we break it down like that, but I imagine people trip up on this a lot. What are the common pitfalls?
There are 5 big mistakes that I see all the time when people try to apply Troward's method.
Lay them on us. What is the first mistake?
The first one is fighting the shadow. We've talked about this, but it is so common. It is trying to change the effect without changing the cause. It is like trying to cool down a room by breaking the thermometer. You can smash the thermometer, you can paint over it, but the room is still hot. You are wasting energy on the indicator, not the source.
That is a great image. Mistake number 2.
Ignoring the lag time. This is where most people quit. In agriculture, there is a season between planting and harvest. You plant the seed, and for weeks you see nothing. The ground looks exactly the same.
And we panic. We say, it didn't work.
Exactly. In mental science, it is the same. You start thinking, I am wealthy or I am organized, but your bank account is still empty. Your desk is still messy for a few days. People look at the condition and say, Troward was wrong.
But the shadow takes time to catch up to the object.
Yes. The manifestation has a delay. You have to hold the cause steady, even when the condition hasn't moved yet. That requires faith and grit.
Okay, that's a big one. Mistake number 3.
Changing the thought, but ignoring the action. Troward is very clear about what he calls practical application. Some people get too into the manifestation side. They sit on a couch and visualize a clean house, but they never pick up a broom.
The secret trap.
A little bit. You must act on the new thought. If you believe you are an organized person, your hands should naturally start moving to organize things. If you just think it, but act like a messy person, you are creating a conflict. The action anchors the thought.
Mistake number 4.
Blaming the environment. This is the victim trap we discussed. As long as you believe the office or the economy or your spouse is the primary cause of your life, you are powerless. Troward is rigorous here. You have to accept that you are the primary cause in your own life experience.
That is tough medicine. And a final mistake.
Seeking permanent fixes. We want to fix it once and be done forever. But life is motion. It is a river, not a pond.
It's not static.
No, you don't fix your habits once and then stop. You must constantly tend to the garden of causes. Weeds grow back. Dust settles. You have to keep gardening.
I think that is a liberating idea, actually. It is not about being perfect. It is about being a gardener. It is a process, not a destination. All right. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. From the courtrooms of British India to the caves of ancient Greece to the neuroscience labs of Southern California. Let's try to distill this into a recap. 7 points to take away.
Okay, let's run through them. First, conditions are effects, not masters.
They are just shadows on the wall.
Second, causes are the thoughts, assumptions, and habits we hold in the mind. That's the real object.
Third, we often trap ourselves by reacting to past conditions, creating a loop. That's secondary causation.
Fourth, we must reverse the flow start with the ideal in your mind, not the external reality you see.
Fifth, habit is the vehicle for this change. It is the mechanism that makes it real.
Sixth, change the environment to support the new cause. Don't fight the cue, remove it.
And finally, the 7th point.
Consistency over intensity. Small shifts, repeated, create the new reality.
Consistency over intensity. That is the one I am taking home. It isn't about the one big cleanup. It is about the daily habit of the inbox tray.
Is the only way it works.
Well, this has been a serious mental workout. Next time, we are going to go even deeper into the mind. We are looking at episode 9, Intuition. We are going to talk about how to access knowledge that goes beyond logic, that gut feeling that knows the answer before your brain does. Is it magic? Or is it super fast pattern recognition?
It is going to be a fascinating discussion on how the subconscious communicates with us. You won't want to miss it.
Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.